This is a preliminary video to show where the progress on this project is. There's some effects that are good and some effects that are bad, so I wouldn't say this is the version that you show the client, but it'll give us an idea of the range and what can be done, and maybe we can refine it. This is the texture that we'll be working with, but basically cutting them so that originally we had the idea that we could do some kind of an acrylic overlay, but we wanted to figure out if we could get that more fused. So this would be cutting the part, treating them separately, and then rejoining them. So there's a couple different ways that we can treat these. For instance, this here is just resin, completely clear resin covering. So you just get this basic underwater effect. Now, in comparison, this is covering in a tint. So you get more of kind of this kind of underwater sea-like vibe. This is opaque, where you notice some of these, you'll see a little bit of interference going on where even though they're filled, you can see still texture in there. But I think it's quite attractive if you use an opaque resin. So you end up getting these little islands of kind of, distress mixed with something that's more pure. So you get a little contrast there. I think it's easier on the eyes. Maybe not for every single portion of this, but there may be where it's like, no, this should, a place should be opaque just to get that clean, pure color. Right now, when this thing transitions, you've got this going from here to here. The parts actually fit together like a puzzle. So you could see, like in here, these have a blush on there. That was a problem during the final won't have a blush. But what you'll see is the part actually transfers from here to here. And it's all one piece. But I'm not even sure that's that necessary for these to look good. When you look at the proposal, we're moving away so much from this being a diptych or connecting in any way. So I did this one just to show an example of where they just don't connect. You've got a texture here and you got a texture here, and the patterns don't match. And it's actually quite attractive. I may prefer it because I think when we get the pattern transferring across, it doesn't give us quite the artistic border. It feels, like kind of a quasi border, maybe a bit gimmicky. Like, look, we put them back together just the same. So I can see how the piece could be where we cast a bunch of parts, but they're not connected at all. They're just individual pieces of art, and we go with this one. In fact, I think if anything, this is my favorite one, where you just get this transition of texture, transition of finish, transition of color. We got tint on one side, we got texture on the other. So, what is indicative of this? Let's say something like this might be, this. You got, copper details, you got some tinted green. Maybe in real life, of course this is blue, so, but, that might be resembling that. This here, move this over. This section here, maybe I can tilt it so it orientates or whatever it is. Anyway, maybe what we're looking at here, turns out to be something like this. So generally that's the idea. Also, there's this where you mark one side of the object with copper, and on the other side you don't have that, so you get a bit of a kind of a moire or vibe where you could maybe walk by it, and from one angle you're not getting copper, and from the other you're getting a hard copper flash. There's that effect too. But that's generally where we're at. One other thing, as I was doing these, I was kind of interested in the idea of this seam having maybe an aluminum strip divider, or a black or a brass or something like that. It just seemed like it add kind of a terrazzo vibe, where you see the little metal separators. I think that would be interesting, and it honestly wouldn't be that difficult to do. This is a more complicated kit to do as a piece of art than we started off as, but I think we're still within range. And I do think the idea of this both looks better and is easier because it's just less tolerance than me being stuck with if something like didn't look right. I didn't like the way maybe color worked out. I could just abandon a part, cast something really quickly, cut it to fit. So I've got more room to make something look good where parts don't match across the seam than when I'm playing, perfect puzzle. So that's my opinion on that.